как-то играет тихонечко. Постепенно, постепенно.
Если по соматическому состоянию проведение антиалкогольного лечения тетурамом невозможно, больному рекомендуется гипнотерапия. Этому больному лечение тетурамом не противопоказано. Провокация алкоголем разрешена. Дезинтоксикационная терапия предшествует лечению тетурамом. Больные получают инсулин в малых дозах, витамины, лечение кислородом и другие физиотерапевтические процедуры. Физический труд является также одним из методов общеукрепляющего лечения.
Товарищи, я пригласил вас сегодня сюда в кабинет для того, чтобы выяснить, как ваше самочувствие за прошедшие 2 недели. Как сон?
Сон заметно улучшился.
Аппетит?
Замечательно.
Аппетит хороший. Ну, а выпить тянет?
Нет.
Честно говоря. А вас?
Честно говоря, да.
Ну что ж, это закономерно. Мы прошли с вами лишь первый этап лечения, общеукрепляющего лечения. Нашей задачей было нормализовать вам сон, показатели сердечно-сосудистой деятельности и так далее. А теперь мы уже можем непосредственно перейти к лечению вашего страдания с помощью тетурама. Все согласны?
Согласен.
Великолепно.
Тетурам сенсибилизирует организм к алкоголю. До алкогольной провокации тетурам назначается по грамму в течение 5 дней.
Товарищи, сейчас на примере этого больного вы увидите, что может случиться с каждым из вас в том случае, если вы будете употреблять алкоголь после проведенного у нас курса лечения.
Тетурам задерживает окисление алкоголя в организме на фазе ацетальдегида, накопление которого вызывает токсические реакции. Эти токсические реакции проявляются массивными вегетативными расстройствами с нарушением дыхания и сердечной деятельности.
Дышать. Дайте.
Для купирования этих состояний применяют вдыхание кислорода. При падении артериального давления сердечно-сосудистые средства, кардиамин, кофеин. А в тяжелых случаях адреналин или глюкозу с астрофантином. Провокация алкоголем необходимо повторять. Присутствие других больных имеет важное воспитательное значение.
Сейчас, товарищи, вы погрузитесь в гипнотическое состояние, и вам будет произведено антиалкогольное внушение. Сядьте поудобней. Расслабьтесь. Закройте глаза. Спать. Сон. Глубже. Приятней погружайтесь в сон. Спать. Алкоголь является ядом для нервной системы и психики. Особенно при вашем неважном состоянии здоровья алкоголь является ядом для всего организма. Глубже в сон. Даже сама мысль об алкоголе вызывает у вас ощущение неприятной реакции. Глубже спать. Глубже. Каждый из вас берет в руки стакан. Стакан с водкой. Попробуйте Попробуйте понюхать. Попробуйте понюхать. Поднесите к носу. Поднесите к носу. Нюхайте. Отвратительный запах. Отвратительная реакция. Спать. Спать. В сон. В сон. Спать. Легче. Легче. Легче стало. На счет 5 выйдите из состояния внушения. Однако отвращение к алкоголю останется непреодолимо. Сейчас легко.
Самое главное, это пропустил и документ.
Раз, два, три, четыре, 5. Почувствуйте себя легче, свободнее. Я наливаю водку. Отвратительную водку. Отвратительный запах. Водка, 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 водка.
Ну там еще другие есть, конечно. Ладно, это не смешно, это не ёбка. Нормально, тяжелая судьба камешка. Как это так? Можно быть. Ну, как это может? От тебя не знаю. Нет, просто takes 5. Trump takes 5.
President, do you have any big plans for your last Thanksgiving in the White House?
Well, we don't know what is last. If you look at what's going on, you have to really take a look at what's going on. They're finding tremendous discrepancies in the votes, and nobody believes those numbers. Those numbers are incorrect numbers. A lot of numbers have already been reported that's incorrect. You're going to see things happening over the next week or two that are going to be shocking to people. If you look at the numbers in Michigan, if you look at the numbers in Pennsylvania, if you look at fraudulent voting and fraudulent votes, so I can't say what's first and what's last in terms of is this the last one or is this the first one of a second term? We'll see what happens. Nobody wants to see the kind of fraud that this election has really come to represent. We are looking at things that are so bad in Georgia. They don't want to show us signatures. The reason they don't want to show us signatures is very simple, because we will find thousands and thousands, a very close race, it's hair thin, but we'll find thousands and thousands of discrepancies, fraud. Why they aren't wanting to show those signatures is amazing. They're doing recounts, and even in the recount they found thousands of votes that were off. But now we want to look at the signatures, and you will find tens of thousands of false ballots, forged ballots. You'll see it all over. You're going to see a lot of it. And you go to Pennsylvania, you saw the meeting we had yesterday with Pennsylvania. You saw people come up, and they went to vote, and they said, no, you can't vote. Somebody else already sent in a ballot, and a woman. But this is happening tens of thousands of times. I think it was 600 and some odd thousand, 687,000 fraudulent votes cast in Pennsylvania. And I will tell you, if you look at the State House now, the Republican State House, they're starting to see what's going on there. But they've really known it for a long time. Then you go to Michigan, and you look at what happened in Wayne County in Detroit. I went through a list I won almost every county, and you see it, almost everybody, 78%, 72%, 68% going through the list. Then you get to Wayne, and something happened. Tremendous numbers. You saw the canvassers, they refused to sign their document because they said, we can't sign a fraudulent document. Horrible things went on. That's in Wayne County, Detroit. But you look at the votes that were just tabulated, and they were left today. Look at all the counties. I won almost all of them, except Detroit was so egregious. It was phony. Look at what's going on in Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they're finding tremendous discrepancy. You just take a look at that. Tremendous discrepancy. And elsewhere. So we're going to see what happens. But you can't have somebody assume office and already they want to get rid of America first. I mean, they want to get rid of America first. They don't want America first. You know why? Because China doesn't want it. China expressed their wish, please get rid of America first. And the Biden administration said, oh, that's okay, we'll get rid of America first. No, we don't want to get rid of America first. We want to put America first. And other countries should put themselves first, too, and I tell them that all the time. But we don't want to get rid of it. So I don't know what is going to happen. I know one thing, Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes. And I got 74 million, but there were many ballots thrown away, so I got much more than that. But I got 74 million. 74 million is 11 million more than I got last time. It's millions more than Ronald Reagan got when he won all. He won 49 states, I guess. He won 49 states, yes. And it's millions more than Hillary Clinton got. Joe Biden did not get, and by the way, Joe Biden did not beat Barack Obama with the black vote. Didn't beat him, okay? But they have him as beating him. And if you look at the numbers are false. The numbers are corrupt. It was a rigged election, 100%. And people know it. That's why you have people marching all over the United States right now. They know it was a rigged election. And look at what's happening in Georgia. A lot of things are being found in Georgia. And they are absolutely against showing, I mean, it's a sad thing. They don't want to show signatures. It can be solved if you show signatures. But you're going to find out the people that signed aren't the people that are supposed to be signing. You're going to find that the people that signed those envelopes, they didn't do the ballots, envelopes. And then somebody said maybe the envelopes were thrown out. There's tremendous fraud here. If you look at, wait just one second, if you look at 10 o'clock in the evening, you saw what happened. Then you had these massive dumps. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You have Dominion, which is very, very suspect to start off with. Nobody knows the ownership. People say the votes are counted in foreign countries. No, and much worse than that, by the way, with Dominion. So, you know, Dominion is also partially based in Canada, but it's based in other countries too. And nobody knows where the votes, but you know, Canada refuses to use Dominion. Canada uses paper ballots. So think of it, they're based in Canada, and Canada refuses to use them. They're smart. They use paper ballots, because paper ballots are the only thing, frankly, the only thing that really you're going to get an accurate tab on, because those machines are fixed, they're rigged. You can press Trump and the vote goes to Biden. All you have to do is play with a chip. And it's down, it's shown all the time. All you have to do is play with a chip. And they played with a chip, especially in Wayne County, in Detroit. You take a look. In Philadelphia, you take a look. We've had excellent meetings with senators from Pennsylvania, Republican senators and others. And they're seeing things, they knew it was dishonest, but they didn't know it was this dishonest. No, and you'll see it all. You'll see it all. So we'll see. Speaking of Georgia, I'll be going there. I spoke with the two great senators. They're great senators, Kelly and David. I'll probably be going on Saturday. We're looking for a site. We're going to have a tremendous turnout, and we seem to always have a good turnout. The people are very disappointed that we were robbed. We were robbed. I won that by hundreds of thousands of votes. Everybody knows it. You go down the streets, there are Trump-Pence signs all over the place, and we won that by hundreds of thousands, Georgia, so they're disappointed. I don't want them to be disappointed. That'll solve itself. We're finding the votes. Once we get to the signatures, we'll take over 100%. Once we get to signature 100%, we will take over Georgia, and we will get Georgia. But they have to show us the signatures. Stacey Abrams pulled the wool over the Secretary of State. I don't know who he is. but the Secretary of State,
He said he donated to you.
it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, he says that too, but I don't know him. I never met him. I have no idea who he is. All I know is that's the ultimate. You know, I donated to Trump. I respect Trump. I love Trump. I think Trump is great. By the way, we're giving nothing. This guy got played like I've never seen anybody played. Tell him if he donated to Trump, if he likes Trump, let us see the signatures. Why is he not letting us see? There's only one reason you can't see the signatures. That's because there's fraud all over the place. And even without looking at signatures, as you know, we found thousands of wrong votes. And by the way, always against me. It was not like 50-50, it was always against me. The other thing, take a look at Michigan. Take a look at what they did with respect to counties. Every county, 78%, 72%, 76%, 59%, the whole thing, one after another after another. And then you get to Detroit, and it's like more votes than people, dead people voting all over the place. But anyway, going back to Georgia just for a second, so I'll be going there on Saturday night, and maybe I'll go twice. It's very important that we win those races. These are two great people. I know them both very well. They're both great people, and I think the two people, you know, I beat the one gentleman. He ran against a congressional candidate who was an excellent person, frankly, and he didn't even live in the right community, and that's how we won. So now I have to beat him again. He lost as a congressman. He was going for Congress, as you remember, and now against Karen. And now he's running against David. He doesn't deserve to be there. He's a lightweight. And the other one is either a communist or a socialist. I can't figure that one out yet. But he's either a communist or a socialist.
В 2020-м пойдем покажу, как зарабатывают наши сотрудники. Смотри, это зарплата моих логистов. Нравится?
Попробуйте онлайн-календари проектов. В отличие от обычных, календари Райк связаны с проектами и задачами.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Károly Zsolnai Fehér. If we are to write a sophisticated light simulation program and we write a list of features that we really wish to have, we should definitely keep an eye on defocus effects. This is what it looks like, and in order to do that, our simulation program has to take into consideration the geometry and thickness of the lenses within our virtual camera, and even though it looks absolutely amazing, it is very costly to simulate that properly. This particular technique attempts to do this in real time and for specialized display types, typically ones that are found in head-mounted displays for virtual reality applications. So here we go. Due to popular request, a little VR in 2-minute papers. In virtual reality, defocus effects are especially important because they mimic how the human visual system works. Only a tiny region that we are focusing on looks sharp, and everything else should be blurry, but not any kind of blurry. It has to look physically plausible. If we can pull this off just right, we'll get a great and immersive VR experience. The heart of this problem is looking at a 2D image and being able to estimate how far away different objects are from the camera lens. This is a task that is relatively easy for humans because we have an intuitive understanding of depth and geometry, but of course, this is no easy task for a machine. To accomplish this, here, a convolutional neural network is used, and our seasoned fellow scholars know that this means that we need a ton of training data. The input should be a bunch of images and their corresponding depth maps for the neural network to learn from. The authors implemented this with a random scene generator, which creates a bunch of these crazy scenes with a lot of occlusions and computes via simulation the appropriate depth map for them. On the right, you see these depth maps, or in other learn the concept of occlusions and was able to create super high quality defocus effects. Not only that, but this technique can also be reconfigured to fit different use cases. If we are okay with spending up to 50 milliseconds to render an image, which is 20 frames per second, we can get super high quality images. Or if we only have a budget of 5 milliseconds per image, which is 200 frames per second, we can do that and the quality of the outputs degrades just to render in different use cases. If we are okay with spending up to 50 milliseconds to render an image, which is 20 frames per second, we can get super high quality images if the outputs degrades just a tiny bit. While we are talking about image quality, let's have a closer look at the paper where we see a ton of comparisons against previous works and of course against the baseline ground truth knowledge. You see two metrics here, PSNR, which is the peak signal to noise ratio, and SSIM, the structural similarity metric. In this case, both are used to measure how close the output of these techniques is to the ground truth footage. Both are subject to maximization. For instance, here you see that the second best technique has a peak signal-to-noise ratio of around 40, and this new method scores 45. Well, some may think that's just a 12-ish% difference, right? No. Note that PSNR works on a logarithmic scale, which means that even a tiny difference in numbers translates to a huge difference in terms of visuals. You can see in the close-ups that the output of this new method is close to indistinguishable .
Всем привет! Я буду рад рассказать про СБП, про развитие системы с реальными кейсами и живыми данными. Но для начала давайте вернемся в 2019 год и себестоимость эквайринга, начнем с него.
But I think that there will be a lot of things happening between now and the 20th of January. A lot of things.
There are two ways President Trump could still serve another 4 years in office. Now, these are highly, highly unlikely scenarios, but technically still possible. And as with many things in 2020, just highlights the fragility of our electoral process. So let's walk through these one at a time. First up, rogue state legislatures. Remember, the public doesn't decide who the next president is. Electoral college delegates vote on our behalf, and it's up to the state legislatures to decide how those delegates are appointed. There's been talk from Trump world of contested battleground states like Michigan reversing the will of the people and sending pro-Trump delegates to the Electoral College, even though Biden won the popular vote in that state. And we still have the president saying stuff like this.
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud.
Also raising eyebrows, President Trump invited Michigan Republican leaders to the White House. Harvard law professor Lawrence Lessig is a critic of the Electoral College. The strategy, while unprecedented, is deliberate.
Try to create enough smoke in key states like Pennsylvania, maybe Georgia, to give Republican legislators the confidence to actually appoint another slate of electors. If 3 of those, of the 5 swing states, do this, have alternative slates and they vote for Donald Trump, then that means Joe Biden has lost.
It's a legally questionable strategy, and it's not going to happen this year.
If the electors have no discretion to go against the people, the legislature has no discretion to go against the people.
Republicans in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, and Georgia have said they're not going to go that route. Plus, the votes have already been certified in key battleground states. Hey, good news for fans of democracy. But there's another step in this process that theoretically could go against the will of the people, and that is faithless electors. Historically, most of these electors vote to confirm the popular vote from each state, but when they go against the grain, they're called faithless electors.
For most of our history, they've been very reliable. There's never been, since 1796, a time when any elector has voted in a way that might have flipped the results.
But can electors do this? There's a gray area. That's exactly why it went to the Supreme Court.
We took the case up to the Supreme Court to ask the question whether electors were free, constitutionally free to vote their conscience, or whether they could be controlled by the state.
The case Professor Lessig is talking about is Chafalo versus Washington, and he argued it.
The reason why people are concerned is that first, it's not clear whether all electors are in fact bound because of that decision. I mean, the Supreme Court said the state can control it, but most states have not controlled it.
Only 33 states have laws on the books requiring electors to vote for the state's popular vote winner, but many of those laws are toothless. Some consequences are significant, like jail time. Some are small penalties, like a fine. But only 14 of these states require the vote of an elector to be canceled if they go against the state's popular vote. So while unlikely, it's possible. Let's go back to Michigan. Michigan is one of the states that require electors to be faithful. And if they aren't, the vote is canceled. What about other hotly contested states where the vote difference is razor thin? Arizona has a law similar to Michigan's. Pennsylvania has no law. Wisconsin has a law, but no penalty, and the vote isn't canceled.
In these states where there's no clear rule, you can imagine an elector voting, but there's no law that says they can't vote for Donald Trump. And then after they vote for Donald Trump, you can imagine racing to a court to say, look, they made a personal pledge that they would vote for Joe Biden, and we want you to enforce that pledge.
A great pianist. So it's roughly 420 pages, quite a few sections. So I've worked through section 1, now I'm on section 2. This is a game changer, because after I tried section 1, I played the D960 and a is it the G minor one, the D884 or D887 by Franz Schubert, and then I played the Liszt Sonata, and it seems to be all there. Good news.
Hi, my name's Hannah Silva. You might know me from some of my other videos that I've done. Most of them are improvisations, but I've also put up another piano technique video which was focusing on hand notes. And after I put that video up, I had a couple of people ask me about wrists or were just interested to hear more about that. So I'm making a video all about how to use your wrists on piano. There's three basic sort of techniques that I'm just going to run you through today. The first one is basically for playing slowly. On each note, your wrist will go down, up. The way you should feel about it is that when you go down into the note, you're really sinking down into the depths of the note. Really enjoy feeling what it feels like to press the key down. So as you can see, if you do it both hands, it's basically the same. Don't be afraid to go down. Sometimes my students see me do this and they say, hey, you're bending your wrist down, because I always tell them you at least need to have a straight wrist. And I say, yeah, but I'm coming back up. So that's okay to sink down. Okay. That's the first one. The second one is wrist circles. Now with wrist circles, the rule for both hands is that on your thumbs you go down with your wrist and on your thighs you go up. So if you're going with your right hand just walking up and down, that means you go down, up, down, up. And as you can hear, this is for playing faster. So the left hand will be the opposite because you start with your 5. So you'll go up, down. Now why I just did that was to show you that even if you start going really, really fast, you still do the same motion, you simply use less movement. So you would have seen, starting with my students, I always have them exaggerate it, they love it. So